The correct unit of account for evaluating any long term investment is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. The question to ask is whether a position beats holding cold storage Bitcoin on a risk adjusted basis. Most assets, most of the time, will not clear that hurdle. This is not financial advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only. About 2 years ago, I wrote a research paper called Your Wealth is Melting. The core argument was simple and a bit uncomfortable. The same force that has made humanity spectacularly productive for the last 200 plus years is quietly destroying your ability to save. Technology innovation and free markets have driven down the cost of producing nearly everything. Storing wealth in assets that can be produced in greater quantities or whose cash flows can be competed away is a losing long run position. The free market will eventually melt it. That paper is what this video is about. Let's walk through it. Start with a concrete example. In the early 1970s, a physical calculator cost around $400 or approximately $3,000 in today's dollars. Companies that made calculators were profitable and investors could earn returns by owning them. Then competition intensified, technology advanced, and the cost to produce a calculator fell towards zero. Today, calculators are free, bundled into Google Search, every smartphone, and every laptop. The investors who bet on calculator companies watch their returns evaporate. The wealth transferred to consumers who got infinite calculators at zero cost. Extend that logic forward. AI and robotics are accelerating automation across farming, manufacturing, construction, and logistics. A single American farmer fed four people in the 1930s. By the 2010s, that same farmer fed 155 people. Global energy production increased from 12,000 terawatt hours in 1900 to 178,000 terawatt hours by 2022, nearly a 15x increase. Data storage that may have taken many, many years to do back in thousands of years ago now complete in under 1 second. Oil productivity per worker has increased roughly 20x since 1860. This is the idea of the acceleration of production. Every major asset class actually sits in this dynamic as well. I call this the innovation trap. Innovation driven market forces that erode your ability to save in the long run, even as they make you more productive in the short run. Here's the structural implication. In a world with a fixed money supply, when production efficiency drives the real cost of strawberries down 99%, the price of strawberries falls. The wealth concentrates in whoever holds the scarce money. The relative purchasing power of that monetary asset expands. In a world with a perfectly finite monetary asset, the capital allocator who holds that asset does not need to time the market, pick winners, or rebalance a portfolio. The expansion of global productivity flows directly to them through rising purchasing power. That asset is Bitcoin. The thesis is pretty clear. In a world of accelerating production and ruthlessly competitive markets, Bitcoin is the only savings vehicle whose supply cannot be expanded, devalued, or competed away. As Trace Mayer put it, anyone who holds Bitcoin holds a future claim on the productivity of the planet in perpetuity, discounted to the present. That framing I used in the paper is precise. Bitcoin is a deep freeze at absolute zero. Every other asset is melting at various speeds. Here's how this entire mechanism actually works. Bitcoin operates on a programmatic, exponentially decreasing supply schedule. As more miners attempt to mine Bitcoin, mining difficulty adjusts upward to keep the predetermined supply schedule on track. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That number is enforced by an ever-growing decentralized network of market participants, each with a direct economic incentive to maintain consensus. The supply becomes more credibly fixed as network participation grows. The core property here is immutable scarcity. Bitcoin also satisfies the full requirements of good money. Fungible, one unit is indistinguishable from any other. Portable, moved globally and permissionlessly at low cost. Durable, data preserved across many physical mediums. Divisible, one Bitcoin equals 100 million Satoshis, enabling transactions at roughly any scale, and stack that against all of the other monetary alternatives. Other cryptocurrencies have supply schedules that are governable and changeable, which weakens scarcity and durability. Gold scores well on fungibility and durability, but poorly on portability and carries only moderate scarcity since its supply still grows 1 to 2% annually, with an estimated $771 trillion worth of gold in Earth's oceans alone. The US dollar scores well on portability, but its supply grows at roughly 7% per year annually in M2 terms, and the Federal Reserve targets 2% annual price inflation against consumer goods by design. Bitcoin scores high across every monetary property. It is the world's first and only perfectly scarce good with sufficient monetary properties to function as money. Walk through every major asset class priced in Bitcoin over the last 5 to 10 years, and the picture becomes clear. The dollar is down significantly. The dollar is designed to debase against the very goods we produce at an accelerating rate: shelter, food, and energy. The 2% inflation target is measured against a basket of goods whose production cost is constantly falling. The debasement is structural and intentional. Bonds are also down significantly priced in Bitcoin. A bond is a promise for a fixed amount of future dollars, a currency already designed to debase. Bond yields nominally compensate for duration, yet those yields carry counterparty risk, business failure, government default, or repayment in printed money. In a globally competitive market, excess returns from bonds compress towards zero over time as more capital chases yield. Stocks are also down significantly priced in Bitcoin. Adam Smith's invisible hand drives excess profit towards zero in hyper competitive markets. When one company releases a profitable product, competitors race to build a better version at a lower cost. A McKinsey study found that the average lifespan of an S&P 500 company fell from 61 years in 1958 to less than 18 years today. Holding $3 trillion in Apple stock effectively places a massive global bounty on building better, cheaper consumer electronics. Free market forces collect that bounty. Gold is also down significantly priced in Bitcoin. Gold production grows 1 to 2% annually, and that rate increases with technological advancement. The potential supply has no hard ceiling. Real estate is also down significantly priced in Bitcoin. Roughly 50% of Earth's land remains undeveloped. Artificial islands already house thousands of residents. Construction technology continues to advance. Real estate is also just a legal construct tied to a government ledger, subject to taxation, regulation, and wartime confiscation. The pattern across all five is consistent. Each asset class requires active management to preserve purchasing power. Capital allocators hire portfolio managers, rebalance time markets, and continuously optimize capital allocation. This is what a hyper financialized economy looks like: enormous human energy devoted to maintaining purchasing power in a sea of various melting assets. Bitcoin reintroduces the option to just save. Parker Lewis frames this distinction pretty clearly. Savings are held in monetary assets. Investments are savings put at risk. The fiat system blurred that line because fiat money melts, so every savings decision became an investment decision. Bitcoin redraws that line and makes that obvious once again. Holding cold storage Bitcoin is savings. Anything else requires active management, timing, or a risk premium in a real investment. Short to medium term returns remain available across stocks, real estate, and bonds. The innovation trap operates on longer timelines. In a world where Bitcoin exists as a credibly finite alternative, every traditional asset must now justify its risk adjusted return against that Bitcoin benchmark. The correct unit of account for evaluating any long term investment is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. The question to ask is whether a position beats holding cold storage Bitcoin on a risk adjusted basis. Most assets, most of the time, will not clear that hurdle. The paper identifies categories that have cleared it historically: Bitcoin adjacent companies, miners, amplified Bitcoin, genuinely world changing innovations like NVIDIA, and early stage startups before they reach real scale. These categories share one characteristic: they represent genuine alpha beyond holding the apex monetary asset. Profitable assets at the right valuation will continue to exist. The opportunity cost of holding Bitcoin raises the bar for what qualifies. Michael Saylor framed the allocation logic clearly: on a sinking ship with 10 lifeboats, 9 with holes and 1 without holes, the rational move is to put everyone in the boat without holes. Capital allocation works the same way. Bitcoin was discovered in January 2009. It created a new global economic reality, a novel tool for savings, trade, and economic calculation. Competitive economies punish the rejection of superior tools. When civilizations first encountered gunpowder, adoption became mandatory in practice. Those who ignored it faced adversaries who adopted it, and they paid the consequences. The mechanism applies to monetary technology with the exact same force. Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate over the last 10 plus years is very significant, outpacing almost every major global asset. That growth represents global capital slowly recognizing it has been storing wealth in inferior vehicles and reallocating accordingly. In the paper, I describe where this ends: an economic singularity where most of the world's wealth ends up in Bitcoin. And I think this is already happening. Markets are forward looking. Asset holders do not need to wait for supply expansion or creative destruction to materialize in all of their other assets. Once enough capital allocators recognize the vulnerability of their holdings relative to Bitcoin, reallocation then begins, and that reallocation accelerates the dynamic. All assets can be perpetually produced or devalued by natural free market forces, except Bitcoin. That is the deep freeze. That is the thesis. 2 years ago, I put this framework to the paper, and I'll share a link below if you're curious and want to read it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.